My name is Dean Page, and I'm a certified life coach. I help my clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. I've also had the opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people. People who have had unique careers, built up businesses, and triumphed through adversity. So one day it dawned on me, why not put the two together? Why not start a show where people can tell their stories of building success and rebuilding from adversity, with the intent purpose to encourage, inspire, and inform others who are working on their goals to fulfill their dreams. Now, if I only knew what to call it. Maybe I should make a list. Wait, that's it. The Dean's List. Kinda has a nice ring to it. So I hope you join my guests and I on this upcoming episode of The Dean's List.
Have you ever had a dream that you work really hard on, but yet it seems like no matter what, you just don't quite make it? And then one day, looking back, you realize maybe you need to change your attitude a little bit. So you make the changes that you need, and you are seeing results. The only thing is you're no longer 20 or even 30. Does that mean it's too late? Yeah, I don't think so. And the next story shows that. It's my friend Justin Rando, who literally the night before had just done a segment on WWE Raw in New York. See, sometimes when you make changes, dreams still can come true.
So I become friends with Shane more and more and more and more and more. We talk. We become like excellent friends in this point. So he says, "Well, I got this idea." He says, "So I'm bringing in Bushwhacker Luke,"
I love it.
and he goes, "I want to have you tag with me, and we'll tag with Bushwhacker Luke and do a 6 minute." And I'm like, "This is gonna be awesome! Like I'm getting a tag with a freaking
Seriously,
Bushwhacker,
yeah.
Hall of Famer." And
So now
so
we're
I
going to do
said,
two
"Yeah."
shows, not just one. I'll do one more. Now we'll do two more.
Well, Shane runs his shows back to back, so we did 2 nights.
Oh, okay. I
So he
got you.
always runs a Friday and a Saturday. And let me tell you, this guy knows how to promote because this guy puts like 300-400 people in
Wow.
like these places easily, right? And so he says, "We're going to tag with Bushwhacker Luke." And I said, "So I think we should." I just happen to be at Walmart and I
Yep.
see on the sale rack for like $5 that yellow sticker on two pair. There was two left of gray and white camo shorts.
They
Now
saved them
Bushwhacker
for
Luke,
you.
yeah. So I call Shane. I go, "Shane, you're not gonna believe this, but I'm looking at two pair of the exact same camo shorts that
Oh, that's sweet.
Bushwhacker Luke wears pants of,
And they're on
right?
sale too.
And they're only $5." So I said, "We gotta go, and we have to be Bushwhacker Luke. Sure, we could have a 6 man tag
But
with me being me and him,
it adds to
and
that
Bush,
thing now.
yeah."
Story.
And he goes, "I bet you he'll love it." Now Bushwhacker Luke's like 73, 74.
Yeah.
So he's like, "I think he'll love it."
Yeah.
So I get the shorts, we get the black tank tops, and we're like, "All right, let's go. This is what we're gonna do." Um, we come out, we do the bushwhacker walk. As
Yeah.
we're coming out, we have the bushwhackers music. Um, Match was so fun. Um, Coolest part was he says before the show, "I need somebody to pick up Bushwhacker Luke from the airport, bring him to the hotel, and then bring him to the show." I said, "I'll do it."
Oh
So I
wow.
pick up Bushwhacker Luke from the airport.
Yeah.
Um, Now Bushwhacker Luke has had a couple of knee replacements, got shoulders, neck, everything. Probably it could be Andy, 73,
Yeah.
74 years old at this point.
Plus the years of
And
bumps. Yeah.
so I pick him up at the airport, and now I drive a third row seating Chevy Traverse, right? Like it's got TV in the back, and it's got like all these little like air conditioner things that you can, do all yourself in the back seat and everything. And so I picked him up, and he's, oh, yeah, mate. He's like, what kind of car is this? And he's like, I think he was more ecstatic about the fact that he didn't probably climb in some young kid's like,
Right.
17, 99, uh, you know,
Yeah.
Chevy.
How am I going
And,
to get in this thing, and how do I get back out?
yeah, he loved it. He sat in he had the captain seats in the middle. So he's sitting in the middle in a captain seat. He's got the AC, his own controls for it. So he can do everything.
Yeah.
Told us the most cool. He just had the coolest story. He took us out to lunch. Um, Sat there and talked to him forever, and it was just so cool to be sitting there across from him, eating dinner, and you're talking to Bushwhacker Luke,
Yeah,
and
right. Sir
and
Wallace
so
thing.
it was really cool. And then we got to the show, and we had the match. The match went really well. Um, so we were like the main event, right? But at the same time, the main event of this show was a Royal Rumble.
Hmm.
I don't know if I can say Royal, but a Rumble. So,
We can edit that.
well, it doesn't matter. No, but so we're like, wait a minute. I said to Shane, I go, so we just won our tag match with Bushwhacker Luke. I said, I got an idea. Because Shane wanted us both to be in the Rumble.
Okay.
And I'm like, I took 90% of that match. Bushwhacker Luke
Well,
didn't.
yeah.
Shane didn't. Took 90% of that match. So I was already tired. Now we're going right into this Royal Rumble, right? But I'm like, and I haven't even been wrestling it again
Right.
for a while.
This is
Like, I haven't even practiced that kind of thing. So I said to him, I go, I got an idea. I said, you come out number 7. I come out number 8. So when you get in the ring, boom, you're eliminated right away. Over the top, start walking down the aisle. Music hits again. Now I come out. As soon as I get in, boom, I'm out. Because the Bushwhackers are notorious for only
Oh yeah,
lasting
you're right. You're right.
in
Oh,
Royal
that's
Rumble for like
great.
4 seconds. So not only did we do his gimmick in the match with the camouflage and everything, but we actually did like paid homage to the fact that those guys walked in one side of the ring and got thrown outside the other. And it went perfect. We had a blast doing it, so we didn't have to really stay in there. We didn't have to do anything.
But it adds to the
But it was
story
fun.
too. That's, I
But
mean,
that is
just
the story, right?
that's great. As
Yep.
soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah. Because they always lasted like
Yeah.
2 seconds. Weren't even in there. But yeah,
and
we enjoyed.
and
Like
you
that was
said paid tribute or homage too, which is kind of cool.
yeah. We basically did like we were the Bushwhackers in that match with Luke,
Yeah.
and then and he was such a nice guy. Tammy loved him too. Tammy, my girlfriend. I don't
Yep.
know if I mentioned her name
Yep.
earlier. But she loved Bushwhacker Luke. Oh, Tammy, can you help me with this over here? You gonna help me with she sat next to him at the merchandise tell. She was selling my merchandise. Bushwhacker Luke was selling his. And Tammy, oh, no, Tammy. Everything was
I could
Tammy,
see
Tammy. So
that.
he signs her, she's got now she gets a big, an 8x10 of them. He signs it. Oh, come on along, Tammy, Bushwhacker Luke and everything.
Yeah.
So she's got that. And, he's just, he's like one of those guys that's just, he was great. So we go, so now I forget the next night where we were the next night, but the next night, Bushwhacker Luke was only there for one night, but he messages me. So I didn't give him a ride back to his hotel.
Mhm.
So he was going back to New York. We were in Vermont, and it was like a 3-hour drive. But his hotel was right by the airport in Albany. So one of the other guys that lives in Albany was giving him a ride home. So I get a text message in the morning. Oh, mate, it was the smallest car, and he didn't get me home until like 2:30 in the morning. And his flight was at like 6 a.m.,
Oh,
5 a.m.
oh. Then the guy's
He got
7 or
back to the
something.
hotel at like 2 in the morning, and he basically had to go right to the airport. And yeah, so that was kind of crazy. I'm trying to think of what the next night was that we ran, where we were. Um, but regardless, it was fun. I love working Shane's shows. World of Hurt Wrestling. He does it such a fan and family friendly. Like he does VIP tickets. So,
Is
we do, go ahead.
no good.
No, we do a whole like VIP meet and greet, um, photos. We cater to the fans.
Mhm.
Um, so Shane and I had so much fun tagging.
2 matches. No.
Then we decide we're going to be a tag team now, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, so we're going to be a tag team. What's our gimmick? So he wrestles in Vermont. So we were working, I think it was Bennington, Rutland, Burlington, that type of area. And so he decides, he says to me for the next show, bring jeans. And I'm like, jeans? I'm like, what are you going to make me do, wrestle in jeans? By now, though, I've met Fox Vineyard, and he got me going over to the ring I was talking about earlier in Glen Falls, at
Okay.
John's Forehand. So, like, now I've
So
been
you're getting some
practicing,
ring time in.
getting some ring time, and I'm working with stuff, with Fox and that a little bit. And there was some students over there. So, I'm like, okay, so what do we want to do for a tag? So he comes up with this thing. We're going to be the Green Mountain Boys. So we wear like jeans and camo hats, and we go out there and we're just like these good old boys, from like Vermont, the Green Mountain Boys. Um,
I'm thinking you
we
used a
have,
different accent.
yeah. So we have like these great, we have like this, Shane and I have like this great chemistry as a tag team. Like we just have fun. Like, and that was the thing that I hadn't been doing for so many years of wrestling. Like I was
Fun.
having fun. I didn't care about WWE. I wasn't thinking about WWE. I wasn't doing, I didn't want to be famous. I didn't want to do all that. I was having fun.
You have the dream, desire, and talent. Guitar player has the riff, drummer the groove, bass player the vibe. The band has it all. And then you try to do a project. I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com to see how life coaching can help you design a project plan that works with your group strengths. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next. Was this
And
after
Shane,
the common denominator revelation?
oh yes, yeah. As soon as Shane booked me on that first show,
That was just because
that
the
was,
tie-in, it's interesting. As you're
yeah,
realizing, oh, I have my own accountability too. Now it sounds like you're having, how many little bit later, oh, I'm having fun doing what I've been doing.
right. And that's the thing. And that was, I mean, like right around that time, I was 39 years old when I had this, like, like epiphany revelation
That's
of
a good
like,
word. I like that word. I wish I had said that.
yeah. So it's kind of like one of those things I kind of figured it out. I was always like, and the thing with like living in Florida, you're living in a beach city,
Hmm.
it's a younger crowd, everything, partied all the time, went out every night, lived right down in the South Howard area, which is like,
Good.
where everything is. So there was no like rules in Florida. I didn't have anybody down there that tied me back to Massachusetts. So
Hmm.
like I didn't really care. Like I was just do whatever I want, you know. Um, but now that I'm home, it's kind of like, and I'll mention this now too because before I had this revelation and this epiphany of everything sucking, like in 2017 my mother passed away.
Sorry.
So thank you, she was 62 when she passed away, right? And so now it's just my father, so now you're kind of like, what was all these things that, like when I think about, I had a great childhood. Like I was an only child, by the way. So if you ask anybody, like I spoiled beyond belief. I had everything I wanted. My parents weren't millionaires. They weren't like, my father was a park ranger. Actually still is, even though he retired, he goes back
Wow.
and he's still a park ranger. He's 72. So it was my mother was a stay-at-home mom, worked like Christmas tree shop type deal, like in the Christmas time, and she worked like little odd jobs and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
nothing that took away from her being home, from being like a mother. So I got everything I want. You see this time of year, you always see on the Facebook, it'll show a picture of the GI Joe aircraft carrier, right?
Yeah.
Which was a toy, and it says my 38th year for not getting and wishing GI Joe. I got it
Oh,
the year it came.
dude, score.
Yeah, I still have it. So that was like a $500 toy.
Yeah,
Um,
back then too.
yeah. So I had that. It was a 4-foot aircraft carrier. Um, so yeah, so I always had like my father coached me in baseball. Like growing up, I played football, baseball. I tried basketball, but being at like 5'7" was never really
Preaching
it.
to the choir on that, bro.
So and I played hockey. At 13, I decided that I want to play hockey. All my friends played hockey. Never skated. Never skated. And everybody's like, we started playing when we were 5, right?
Yeah.
I played hockey for 2 years.
Wow.
I taught myself how to skate when I was like 13. I went to public skating, and a couple of my buddies who were hockey players would go with me, and they'd help me learn how to skate. And we'd skate on the back pond down by one of my friends' houses. So I kind of picked it up. I was never a fantastic skater by any means, but I was good enough to get by to play 2 years.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
yeah,
it's interesting too
I
because
scored
it
2 goals in my life, so that was kind of cool too. I never even thought I'd score 1 goal.
yeah,
Um,
hey.
But baseball was like my passion. That was my love. I love baseball the most. I played since I was like 7 years old,
Yeah.
um, all the way up through. My father coached me when we were in 13-year-old league, and then he coached on the 14, 15. And so, um, my parents were always really involved. So it wasn't like I had a bad childhood. I couldn't say that I had any. My grandparents lived next door. They spoiled me. They bought me my first car, first 2 cars. Um, so like I wasn't it wasn't like I had anything to like resentful towards my parents or back here. It was just I liked being on my own. Like once I went away to college, it was like that's it.
Mhm.
Like I was just I'm by myself. Then I moved to Boston. Then I left Boston. I moved to Tampa and whatnot. But anyway, that epiphany time came was right about 39. You know, and so that would have been 2019. So my mother had passed away like 2 years prior to that. So it's too bad because like she really, it was one person that I always said like I'm gonna be on Raw. Someday I'm gonna be on Raw. Someday I'm gonna do this. Someday I'm gonna do that. Um, and so kind of like that was the one thing is like so now here's all this stuff coming forward, and now I'm starting to be grateful. I learned that gratitude.
Oh,
I started learning like gratitude. To be grateful for this stuff. And
well, isn't
now
that
it's kind of like
that makes sense? Because when you were again tying into some of the things you've been saying, when you were talking about being sometimes at at like WWE, and well, I didn't end up getting used, but I'm glad I'm there. But I learned some more stuff, or I got to watch this, or I got to watch that. You know, um, and when you were talking about, well, I didn't get to do it then, but I probably wasn't ready. But this gave me more stuff so that I could be ready when it was
right.
time and stuff. And I think that's a thing tying it into like, if you know me, I don't like a whole lot of fluff. I like be polite, but like, I don't want to make somebody feel better for like 10 minutes and then their life isn't changed. That does no good, really.
Right.
So that when you say I'm grateful for stuff, that doesn't mean that you're necessarily like, oh yeah, everything's great. I'm just going to pretend it's good. No, you look for, it sounds like you saw what was good, positive, made the most of it, and now you're starting to get the rewards. Yes, no, maybe, kind of.
Yeah, and that's what I think I kind of figured out was like, I don't have to be so miserable or negative. Um, I don't have to be at the WWE. I'm having fun wrestling local.
Which ironically is
And
help probably bring you back to where you got to do what you're doing now too.
right. So again, I reach out and I go to my buddy Shooter. Um, what's this WWE extra thing you did a couple years ago? I remember you saying with me, um, who do I get a hold of to like do this extra work? Like he's like, well, he's like, I mean, I guess I could give you the email. He's like, you're gonna want to get a hold of. At the time, it was John Cone, and so I was like, okay. So I emailed John Cone, and he tells me like, well, now it's Pat Buck. So I was like, okay. So he gives me Pat Buck's email. So I get like, I email Pat Buck and I ask him. He's always like constantly for like a while. He's like, no, no, no. And in wrestling, you learn it's not no, no, no. It's just not yet, not yet, not yet. Um,
Again,
so
attitude, how you look at
right.
perspective.
So he books me for Worcester. So I'm like, yes, I have one, right? And it goes back to Chico because this is where I meet Chico. But I used to see Chico being at every single one
Yeah.
up until then. So now I'm booked and I'm in Worcester. So I'm like super excited. Shane got booked to be in Buffalo. So I'm like, okay. And Shane's like, you should see if you could get on Buffalo. And I was like, all right, well that'd be cool. Like, I mean, he only put me for Worcester. So they were in Worcester, Albany, Buffalo, Providence, Boston, Nassau Coliseum,
Long
and Welcome.
Island.
So 7 in the course of 1 month is what they're right here. So it's you got Worcester, you got Boston, you got Albany, you got Buffalo, you got.
Yeah.
And I tried to remember the order. It went in the other day with Tammy, and she was ready to kill me. She's like, "You're just not going to remember it, so stop."
It's
So
the region.
we were on the treadmill, and I kept saying it. I kept saying it and going, "No, it was this," because I remember leaving here and going there and then going here. But anyway, so I'm like, all right, so I got this one in Worcester. I was like, oh, maybe I'll reach out and see if I could get it. So normally they'll book you like 6 weeks out, right? So that you know. And so WrestleMania comes, and I'm like the week after WrestleMania, I'm scheduled in Worcester. WrestleMania comes, and the day after WrestleMania, Pat Buck quit. So I see this headline that Pat Buck quit, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Pat Buck quit. I'm like, does that mean I'm still good? So I like message like Shane, and I message these guys who've done extra work before, and they're like, yeah, you're still good. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. And
Smart.
so I'm like, all right. I'm like, we won't say anything. But what if I do say something? Now,
the look on your face, bro.
Okay. I feel like
but...
I can say it now because I have been with WWE with the company as an extra.
Yeah.
So many times they know me, they know my my reputation, my professionalism, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And sometimes you have to take and make your own opportunity.
That's a good point.
Sometimes you just have to. And now here's a very, very small decision, but a really big one because it's either really bad or really good.
But it's not a stupid one, though. It's not like, I'm going to go interrupt a guy's meal and tell him he needs to hire me full time or something.
So here's the decision I made.
Yep.
I email John Cone and I say, I realize Pat Buck is gone. Who do I get a hold of? Who's going to be the liaison now for the extras? Because I'm supposed to be in Worcester. Email Ken Doan. Okay. So he gives me Kenny Doan's email address. And I'm like, hey, Ken, just wanted to reach out to you. I hear you're taking the place of Pat Buck as of right now for the extras. I just want to make sure, because my blood work's all set, everything is good. I just want to make sure that I'm good for Worcester, Albany, Boston, Providence, Hartford.
Great.
And I named 7 Buffalo, every one of them, right? He emails me back and he says, yeah, you're good. He's like, I'll make sure you're down for all those. He goes, I'll put your name on the list. He goes, and do you want to do Welks Bar, which is the last SmackDown of that whole month span?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, I do.
Okay. If I help
So
show.
I walk away with having from one show in Worcester as an extra to now having 7 shows in 2 weeks, one of which being a pay-per-view in Providence. I end up in Albany, a 30-minute segment with Madcap Moss,
Oh wow.
just him and I,
Yeah.
on WWE SmackDown Backstage exclusive. I was at the right place, right time. I was standing by Gorilla. I was in my suit. Guy came up to me and said, can I borrow you for 30 seconds? You look perfect. You're in a suit. You got to look important. Stand here. Madcap's going to come flying through. He's going to be looking for Happy. He's going to stop you. He's going to yell at you. You just got to be like, what, you know? And then he's going to say, never mind, forget it. And he's going to storm off. Okay. So now I got that segment, right? That's like
Yeah.
really cool. I get to see that, right? So I go, didn't do anything at the pay-per-view, didn't do anything for the other 6, and I get to Hartford. You're working with Bobby Lashley. So now I work with Bobby Lashley, and I do that with Bobby Lashley. My picture with Bobby Lashley, when I'm on Bobby Lashley's shoulder,
Yeah.
is the only picture of the 3 security guards that were in my segment that was put on WWE.com. So I was like, that's freaking awesome. Then I email Kenny back and thank him for the whole everything. He said, yeah, he goes, since they used you with Lashley last night, if you don't want to travel to Welks Bar on Friday, you don't have to go. I said, fair enough. I said, that's cool. Then I won't go then. I said, that's awesome for me. But again, like I look at those little decisions I would have never got if I didn't decide.
Yep.
If I decided to keep my mouth shut and not say anything.
You did it in a
I
professional
would have
way,
ended up
though, too. You did it in a professional way. I mean, as I was listening to when you were saying your
yeah.
email, yeah, it was certainly, yes, it was aggressive. You took initiative, but it wasn't obnoxious. It was, hey, this
No.
blah, blah, blah. I know you're doing this. And it was just very, especially if you think, oh, great, I just got this job. Who are all these pieces? And you just laid out, hey, this, and this. I mean, again, I go back to the Mike Hollow, be a professional wrestler. And the same thing when you're talking about, oh, you look great. You're in a suit. You look professional. You'll be great for this. You're doing everything you can, and and again, staying professional and not being, dumb about it and stuff like that.
Right.
And you're seeing it.
And you're looking at it from the fact of the way that I look at it is you do have to sometimes create your own opportunity because you have to be aggressive about it. Like this is a hard business, it's a hard job. You think about that.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
one company. I mean, 2 now because you can count AEW, you can count New Japan. Look, to me, there's one.
Well, how many people were in the arena? Was it 15,000 last night ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 15,000, and how many people were actually part of the show? So there's your number and percentage. I mean,
Right.
just right in there. And again, not the.
And how many of those people that were 15,000 that were in there want to be a professional wrestler?
Right. So again,
how many of them will take the first step, the second step, the third step? But when it all boils down to it, I sat there and had to make a business decision.
Oh, that's a good way to put it. I like that, the business decision. Because part of what I hear, because I know we've talked, and I know you want to do motivational speaking and stuff like that, is that a lot of the principles that you're saying and that you do and that you have worked will work for other people, which is why I kind of hit them every now and then. It's because I don't want anybody sitting back, well, that just works for him. Well, maybe if just for him, or well, that'll never work for me. And I'm not saying everybody's going to be on Raw, but that idea of being as prepared as, okay, there's nothing happening, get as prepared as you can be. Here's an opportunity. It didn't open up. Okay, well, what can you learn from it? Okay, now you do got an opportunity. You don't know what it's going to be. Okay, be as prepared again, and then the same thing with, again, I think that was really smart, aggressive, obviously, because you got this
I had
bookings.
here's the other thing too, Dean, is like, here's the other thing.
Mhm.
Now I'm starting to look at, okay, when you turn 40, right? Life is addition up until 40. After 40, it's subtraction. So once you hit 40, you start losing friends. You start losing, everything starts to go. You start taking away more than you're adding at that.
No, I get you.
So I'm looking at 40, and now I'm like, I have one WWE job for Worcester. I have friends who are doing a few of the other ones that are in that area, right? So like Luscious was on one of them,
Oh,
Shane
fun.
was on one of them.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I have to be at all of them because if I'm at one and I don't get anything,
Oh, yeah.
where do I go from there? Where do I have value in ever bringing me back as an extra? And so I went to Worcester and I didn't do anything, but I was on six more after that in the same amount of week in that, six
Yeah.
shows in that month.
Yeah.
So now I was living, so I got to get the taste of like also living on the road. So I was gone. I mean, I went from uh, Worcester home, Albany for SmackDown. I'm going to try it. Then Buffalo for Raw, back to SmackDown somewhere on Friday, Boston,
Mm.
Saturday, Providence for the pay per view, Monday, Hartford. Boom, I'm on TV with Bobby Lashley, the very last one.
Hmm.
And when I had the feedback from Bobby Lashley afterwards, he was like, you have to be in their face. You have to be annoying. Like you have to be able to say like, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. He literally said that. He said, you have to be annoying. He's like, because
Wow.
there's going to be 30, 40 other people who are going to be just as annoying, if not more annoying.
Interesting.
Probably more than 30 or 40. But
Hmm.
he said that. He goes, you guys, he goes, I'm telling you guys, keep doing what you're doing. He said, it'll all work out. He's like, you guys did great. They played a big rib on me that day. Um, on the three of us that were in the segment,
Yeah.
it was the rib was, so we get done with the segment with Lashley and I'm back in the locker room and I'm putting my dress pants on. I got my socks on, no shirt, dress pants are on, just button them, belt still undone. Drake Maverick comes into the locker room. Justin, I don't know what you did, but Bobby Lashley is furious. He's flipping out like he wants to see you right now. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is not what I wanted this to end. So I thought it went well. So he's like, come with me, come with me. So I'm
Oh my
running to the
goodness.
backstage area, right? I'm backstage area with my socks on, dress pants, no shirt. I run by Toya and Chico. So Luscious and Chico are standing there. They go, what's going on? I go, I don't know. Lashley's pissed. So I'm running. Drake's like, come on. Sometimes he gets like this. Don't worry. He'll calm down.
You might
We
not
get over to
die.
Bobby Lashley, and so on that, also on that skit was, or on that segment was Ichiban
Yep.
and Channing Thomas.
Hmm.
So Channing Thomas and Ichiban are both on it. Ichiban's already standing there with Bobby. So I get in there. Oh, Mr. Lashley, what's the? He goes, what's your Venmo? My Venmo. I'm thinking to myself, what do I got to pay this guy because I fucked up so bad? You know, I'm like, what do I got to do? You know, and he's like, no, you guys did great, man. You guys did awesome. And so he says, where's the other guy? And Ichiban goes, he's in catering. And I said, and Lashley looks at Drake and he says, what did you tell him? And he said, oh, Bobby, I told him that you were pissed and you were hot and yeah, he starts laughing, right? He's like, I didn't know, you know? So now they go get Channing and Channing comes back. And Drake did the same thing to Channing. He brings Channing back and he says, here you go. And Channing goes, yeah. Bobby looks at him and goes, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh
If you never
no.
wrestled in your entire life, get your shit, get out of this building. He starts going, Channing, yes sir, okay, oh my god, oh my god. Nah, I'm just kidding with you, man. Channing looks at him and he goes, I think I shit my pants. And so we were kind of, so everybody starts laughing. We, like I said, they did the same thing to me. The only one that didn't have it happen to was Ichiban. So I'm like, this is the, so Lashley stood there and talked to us for about 10 minutes and he realized like we all had a great sense of humor about it. We all laughed about it. We all were like that, we're all laughing. Lashley was just telling us, listen, you guys did excellent.
Wow.
I was so happy with it. Like, you keep doing what you're doing, keep doing it. And so now when I look back at that decision to say that I was already booked for all 6 of those.
Yeah.
Like, Pat Buck had been saying no to me for every one that I sent to him.
Yeah.
And then finally he said yes to Worcester. So, like, it was time that I took it in my own hands.
Gotcha.
And then Kenny Doan, of course, turns out to be, like, great. He's like, he emailed me, do you want to be here? 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 So then I got to work, all that. So again, it's like taking that initiative and wrapping like your head around the fact that like, yeah, it might have been a little stretch the truth that I wasn't actually supposed to be on all those. But guess what? I was supposed to be on all those.
Yeah.
You have the dream, desire, and talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best gyms, personal trainers, and workout programs. But what about overcoming the challenges, setbacks, or hindrances that are a risk to your incredible potential? I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.